For a podcast with your host Jacqui Grant, and today we've got Kathy back. Yay! Welcome, Kathy.
Hi, everybody.
So good. I always love our chats. But listeners, we are going to, because we're moving to video as well, we're actually going to do our best to keep it to around 30 minutes. But the good news is that you can also go get our magazine, which has Kathy in there every single week. So, Kathy, are you nice and warm on this cold day here in Melbourne?
Yeah, I know. I love winter. Winter's my favourite time of year. So whilst it's very chilly, there's no doubt about that, I am very much enjoying the colder weather. I can't wait for it to get even colder. I love the foods, I love the fashions, I love everything about winter. So it's very cool.
Nice.
I'm not a summer girl. I don't like summer.
No? Okay, cool. I think I'm a spring person. I think, but yeah. But I was looking at because I'm doing my best to have a veggie garden at the moment, and your articles, if you haven't ever read any of Kathy's articles, start now, subscribe to our magazine because they are delicious. Now, I was never just a plant-based person. I grew up with my meat and 3 veg. But since having bariatric surgery, and even before then, I went right off red meat. I don't know what it was. It was just a taste thing or something. So I started to incorporate more veggies. But since I've met Kathy and her recipes, she doesn't just write us an article. She shares 1 or 2 recipes in there as well. And last month, if you didn't get the April edition, in there, and I never thought I would have this, so this is exciting. Avocado mousse. Who would have thought of that? Talk to us a little bit more about that one, because it's kind of like it's a mousse. What?
So it's really interesting when you hit the plant-based world, and I grew up the same way you did, meat and 3 veg. So, and then I want to say I saw the light. I didn't really. My husband was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which if anyone who's been listening to me before knows this. So he grew up with, he was diagnosed back in 2003. So which is what led me to become a medicinal nutritionist. And it led me down the road of having to look at and study disease processes and how foods heal and foods harm on those disease processes. And they're all different. So the more I studied and the more I looked into multiple sclerosis, the more I realised that there were foods that he needed to stay away from and what we needed to do to bring down his inflammation. All diseases are driven by inflammation. So It was kind of like, well, what are we going to do now? And what foods are we going to adopt? And my husband was a dairy fiend. He had his own drawer in the freezer full of ice creams. It was his absolute favourite things, and we had to take those out, and we had to start looking at more of a plant-based diet because the research was unequivocal when you actually looked at what foods heal and what foods harm, and the more plant-based he was going to be, the better he was going to be, and the more saturated fat he stayed away from, the better he was going to be. So we needed to adopt that diet. Now, my husband loves his desserts and loves his various things. When he was a young boy, his mother made chocolate mousse for a dinner party, putting 20 chocolate mousses in the fridge.
Right.
When she came to serve them, he'd eaten them all.
So just a little bit of a lump.
It's still a family joke to this day that, the poor thing, she goes to serve the dessert, but he just thought, well, once he'd started eating 1 or 2, he thought he might as well eat the lot because, he didn't want to get into trouble if only a couple of people didn't eat it. And so he ate all of them. And so he loves things like chocolate mousse and things like that. So then when you're in this world and you're going, okay, well, how can I still provide him with all of those beautiful foods that he loves? How can we still do it? How can we get the textures, the flavors, and all of and make it healthy so he's able to eat it. So the avocado is gives you that fat, gives you that cream that you put into a mousse. So we just use avocado to do that. Avocado is an amazing healthy fat for us. It contains all of the fats. So we absolutely love it. So when you combine it with a little bit of cocoa powder, a little bit of sweetness, voila, you now have chocolate mousse.
Nice.
So we've done this. I do this with everything. So no matter what recipes, what old-fashioned recipes that he absolutely loves, I can turn it into being plant-based. Pretty
That's
cool.
a talent. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I don't know if it's talent. Sometimes it's just a necessity.
Yeah. But I love, and now the topic I gave the team for the May-June edition of the magazine, so that'll be out on the 16th of May, is embracing different cultures. So, and what I love is that I give the team of writers, so we have 4 now with potential 5, and maybe and a one that will pop in and out. And what I do is I go, here's the topic, off you go. And I love what I always get back. I look at it and I go, yeah, perfect. So we did embracing the different cultures. So I'm curious, and I'm always curious to see what people come back with. So how did you go with that topic? Like, we're talking around.
I loved it. It's right up my wheelhouse. So absolutely perfection.
Love it.
So again, like the avocado mousse story, it's a matter of when people decide to go plant-based, right? And people go, but I don't know what to eat, because we have our favorite foods. We usually rotate around about 7 to 9 food recipes that most people work on a weekly basis, right? So if I suddenly take all those out, because a lot of those are meat-based, we take them out. People go, yeah, but how do I do that? What do I do? Yeah. Now the thing about winter is that this is a time where we need way more nutrients, phytonutrients, and vitamins and minerals and things like that to boost our immune system. And what's so important is boosting the immune system during winter to cope with the flus and the colds and the coronaviruses and the various other things that are floating around during winter, right? And, everybody's got a cold of some description or knows someone who does. So what do we do then? How do we get really good zinc, and how do we get really good phytonutrients that is going to boost our antioxidant system, which can boost the immune system, et cetera, et cetera? How can we make a healthy gut microbiome? The healthier gut microbiome is, the more it educates the immune system to react properly and not overreact and do all of these sorts of things. So the way we do that is by using plant-based foods. Okay, so
but why can't we just do vitamins? Like, why should we do plant-based foods? Like, why can't I just take some vitamins?
Yeah, good question, Jackie. It's really interesting, because the research now shows that if you're taking individual vitamins like vitamin E or certain other vitamins, they actually do more harm than good. When we do it through food, the body will preferentially pick up what it needs when it absorbs it through the gut. So if I need more magnesium, I'll pick it up. If I need manganese, I'll pick it up out of the foods, because the foods, the more varied your diet is, the more plant-based and varied the diet is, the more you're going to be able to get those nutrients, and your body will absorb what it wants. And it knows how to do it through foods. Whereas when you're taking multivitamins, you may not need vitamin E. You may not need manganese or magnesium or phosphorus or whatever it is. So it's not a good idea. The body knows what to do when you give it a whole food. So often when I say to people, right, you're going to go plant-based now, we've got these rotations that we use, and especially during winter, we've got our favorite stews and things like that. People think that, well, what do I eat? to eat lettuce and tomato and cucumber for the rest of it. No, this is not a time for raw food. This is not a time for winter. This is summery foods. This is a
Mhm.
time for really beautiful tagines and casseroles. So when you look at different cultures like Moroccan or Middle Eastern or Egyptian to South American to Mexican, when you start sort of looking at all of the different cultures, they all
Mm.
have beautiful, really beautiful, different stews and curries and things like that. So when you start playing around with other cultures, you can
Sure.
find a huge amount of delicious, delicious plant-based foods. So I absolutely loved this particular month because that is what I do. I've got an English background, right?
Right.
My background is English through and through. And to be honest with you, there's not much there that's exciting other than fish and chips and mushy peas, which we don't eat anymore. So it's when you start looking around at different chefs like Ottolenghi and even
Mhm.
Jamie Oliver, they all
Mm.
have these amazing casseroles that you can have that are full of flavor and comfort and cold
Mm.
nights with a glass of red if you drink and those sorts of things.
Mm.
It's just perfect. So I
Mm.
loved it. To answer that was a
Well,
long answer for a short question.
no, but it was good. It was good because, and one of the things that we can do is also, like, if you live on your own or whatever, you can just make, like, carve the recipe or whatever, but then you can also freeze it as
Yeah.
well. Like, so
Yes.
that way then it helps you to always have something in the freezer, because one of the things I'm going to be talking about in the magazine this month is food prep, in the sense of planning, because especially for someone like myself who's had bariatric surgery, even a half a recipe where it's one serve, that could be 2 or 3 serves for me, depending on, because the denser the food, the less my body can take in.
Yeah.
Or it might be I have a little bit, then I have a break, then I have a little bit more. But I love the way you shared about how the body, when we give the body those nutritional plant-based foods, it goes, oh, we need that out of that, but we don't need that. So we trust the body to do its job,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. So, and the more fiber, the more fiber we need, the better we're detoxing, the better we're clearing, the better bowel movements we have. Therefore, the healthier, less toxic our bodies become. And
Mm.
this, you only get fiber, you get good fiber in vegetables. It's the only place where you're going to get good fiber is out of
Mm.
fruit and vegetables. So, there's a lot of people who might be listening to this go, I'm not going to live on a plant-based diet. You don't have to. But
Mm.
what I'm suggesting and why I write for your magazine and why we do a lot of things around plant-based is so people
Mm.
get a greater understanding of it, that it's not nutrient deficient. If
Yeah.
anything, it's nutrient rich. It's
Yes.
calorie deficient. It's a
Mm.
good way to lose weight because, if you're eating lots of carrots, you can eat carrots till the cows come home and you won't put on any weight,
Mm.
as
Mm.
opposed to eating other things that are very high in calories and nutrient poor.
Mm.
So we're looking
Mm.
at really nutrient dense foods, which is really
Yeah.
lovely. Lots and lots of fiber, which actually helps with everything that's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
detoxing of the human body, especially if you're coming into menopause. We need to be able to,
Mm.
I see a lot of patients who are menopausal women who are struggling with weight gain and things like that. The more fiber in your diet, the better. If you look
Mm-hmm.
at the people in the world who've got the healthiest guts and are what we think are the healthiest people on the planet,
Mm.
they eat around 100 grams of fiber a day. Most Australians eat about
Wow.
15 grams of fiber a day.
Such a huge difference. And because
Huge.
now I know that a lot of people go for the multigrain breads or the soy and linseed breads and things like that. But what I'm hearing from you, and especially then people, because breads, as we know, have that higher calorie content as well. So effectively what I'm hearing from you is that by getting your fiber from your fruit and veggies, especially your veggies, like you've said, carrot and celery and all those kind of things, you're getting that extra fiber as well without the necessary calories. And if you want
That's
to
right.
have your soy and linseed bread and you don't have any intolerances, then sure, everything in moderation. I used to look at things in empty calories and full calories. And
Yeah.
I remember doing a video once. It might still be on my YouTube station or channel. Is that I shared how before I had bariatric surgery and what contributed to me becoming morbidly obese was that I would buy a big bag of chicken chips, so the big bag, and then I would buy a block. Let's just call it Cadbury Snack chocolate. Often I would go a better quality chocolate, but we'll just do the family thing. And I used to on a Friday night have takeout with the kids and their friends. So it might be pizza or Chinese, whatever we ordered in, and then I would sit and watch TV and just mindlessly eat chocolate and chips. And I was then like, oh, but I didn't eat that much because I didn't realize until I was like, you put the hand in the bag and the bag's empty, and it's like, oh, where's the chocolate? And you kind of went, oh, but I don't feel full. I don't feel
No.
satisfied, and I still want more. And I even put that down to empty calories with lots of flavor that entices you to want it.
It's so easy. So a lot of those foods, they don't contain fiber,
No.
right? So if you look at that, what you're sitting there eating, and it's mindless. I love the way that you said that. It's mindless eating. The
Mm.
brain, if it is actually, it's called the cephalic phase of digestion. And so when you're eating whilst you're working on a computer or watching the TV, the brain is computing what it's watching on the TV. It's not actually seeing the fact that you're putting food in. So
Mm.
it takes 20 minutes for the brain to actually realize that you are eating and that you're eating food. And to be
Mm.
honest with you, it's very easy to sit there and eat a whole packet of chips in less than 20 minutes.
Mm.
So
Even
it's
for
all,
somebody, even for someone that's had bariatric surgery, because it condenses down.
oh, right. Okay. Yes, because there's no fiber.
Yeah.
So there's no fiber in this. It's just empty. Everything is empty. The nutrients are empty. The calories are empty. Well, the calories are high, so they're really high calories. But there's nothing there for the brain to feed back to say, oh, you've eaten, which is one reason why you're trying to lose weight. There's no way you should do it. Eat your lunch, your breakfast, your dinner, whatever you're doing in front of a computer or in front of a TV. They're the worst, or
Mm.
any form of screen or
Mm.
reading a book. It doesn't really matter because your brain's never getting that message from the gut and from your
Mm.
stomach that is
Mm.
leading its negative feedback loop that comes back into the brain that says, okay, enough's enough, we're full. So we're not
Mm.
getting any of these messages. We're not getting any fiber from them, so the stomach is not filling up. Imagine
Mm.
sitting watching a movies and eating a punnet of strawberries or a punnet of blueberries or a whole lot of celery, for instance. You can't overeat on them because you're going to
No.
get full. There's all that
Yeah.
fiber in there. There's all of that water that's in there. There's all of
Yes.
those sorts of things, and you've got to chew them, and you're just not,
Mm.
they're just not going in and dissolving and disappearing. And the
Mm.
calories are low. So,
Mm.
if you chop up, carrots and celery and cucumber and I know it sounds really boring, but you made a hummus with it, for instance,
Mm.
and you sit
Yeah.
and eat that whilst you're watching the TV, completely different story. You won't overeat. There's low on calories and it's a
Mm.
much healthier way to go. Your body then draws out all of the good vitamins and minerals and uses them to keep you healthy. I mean,
Mm.
it sounds boring, and a lot of people go, you know, I want to do that, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to do that. It's a
Mm.
matter of this, what I call the circle of change, and or stepping into the circle of change. It's actually a matter of going, I want to be a different person. How do I get there?
What about if it was, I want to be a different person and now I choose to be a different person, so to connect in with a want which changes into a choice.
Exactly. You have to choose it. You have to think differently. A lot of us go, oh, I want to lose weight, or I want to be different. I want to eat differently. But then when we go to the fridge and we open the fridge, we pull out the chocolate cake and things like that. And then we sit there and eat it whilst we're thinking, oh, I want to be different.
Mm.
So you once you think I want to be different, you then need to put into play, because those thought patterns need to then translate into the body and into
Mm.
your actions. So I
So,
often spend a lot of
oh,
time
you go.
talking to patients about this. How do I change my habits? Because the problem with those chocolates and that chips that you're eating, it's
Yeah.
feeding straight up into your dopamine receptors. It's making you
And
feel good.
being ADHD as well as autistic, I already have less dopamine receptors, like for the uptake of dopamine. So when I find something that gives me that dopamine release, whatever it is, because it takes a lot longer, right, for me to get it. But whenever I find it, like yesterday, it was paint pouring. I was like, "Woohoo, I'm paint pouring." But when it's food, as you said, it's giving that release. But the other thing is taste. Like, don't you think so? So how would somebody? Okay, this is a really good question. If they got used to all of those artificial flavors, let's call it artificial flavors with no real nutritional benefit.
Value.
Um,
Mm.
and that's it. And they're so used to it, but to then go to strawberries or carrots, which are really good and going to do wonders over time because it's a process. How do you make them that taste transition? Because that's, I think, also part of the, let's call it, addiction, is that we're
Mm.
addicted to that high level of sodium taste and flavor, or the sugar, which, as you said, is giving that dopamine release, but it's also the taste buds. It actually tastes good, so I want more of it as well.
Yeah, it's a good question, Jacqui. But what's happening when you're eating all of those foods and you're thinking they're tasting really good, right? And you're getting addicted to them.
Mm,
But even though you're having a massive amount of calories in, your body is starving,
right.
right? So your body ends up wanting more of the sugary fat foods that make you feel good and taste good, right?
Mm,
And why I'm hungry all the time and I'm wanting more and more and more of it. Yeah, because you're not giving the body any of the nutrients that it actually needs to
mm,
either make natural dopamine or to make feed your body the way it needs to be fed, so it
mm,
can get all the nutrients that it wants.
mm,
Once we start feeding the body and feeding the brain the foods that it wants, all of those cravings sit down. They all disappear and things start to taste different. So my way, one of the things I like to do, especially if I'm dealing with someone, it's if I'm dealing with someone who's got a sweet craving, like, well, actually I do it for both. Um,
mm,
but what we do is we start looking at foods that are actually going to feed the brain, and that is potato. Potato's going to give us all of those feel good dopamine receptors, fantastic nutrients in it. It has a
mm.
wide range of nutrients. It's going to feed our brains and feed our body and feed our gut microbiome really, really
Yeah,
well. Where
right.
potatoes go wrong, potatoes are only 1 calorie per gram.
Right.
So I've got 100-gram potato, big 100-gram
Yeah.
potato. There's only 100 calories in it.
So
So
so where do we go wrong with potatoes? Because they get a bit of a bad rap at times.
Yeah, so where do we go wrong? Well, how many people sit down and just eat a potato like they would eat an apple? Very few. What we do is we get a potato and then we put sour cream on it,
Yeah.
and then we put bacon bits, and then we put cheese, and we've just taken
Mm.
that one poor little 1 gram of calorie and we've made it into 9 grams because fat is so 9 calories, right? So 9 calories
Right.
for every gram. We've just
Right.
completely changed its an utter profile. Now, what doesn't get the bad rap is not the dairy. What gets the bad rap is the potato.
Yes. Yeah, 100, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So what we need
So
to
if
do, and what I
we
like is
yeah.
like if you've got an air fryer, you can take a kilo
Mm.
of potatoes, little baby potatoes. Take a
Mm.
kilo of those, throw them in the air fryer with not an ounce of fat or oil on them, nothing. Put
Mm.
them in for
Mm.
23 minutes, bring them
Right.
out, sit
Right.
down and watch, have some salt and pepper and
Mhm.
maybe a fresh tomato salsa or something like that. Sit
Mm.
down and eat that whilst you watch the movie, and now
Ah.
you will get that same satisfaction, and it'll feed up into your dopamine receptors because that's what it does. It's
Yep.
full of glucose, full of B vitamins, which also help with your neurotransmitters, all of these
Yep.
sorts of things, and without the calories.
Yeah.
And
So
you've got fiber, right? You've got
yeah.
a massive amount of fiber. So if you've got a gut issue, if you sat
Mm.
down and ate that, let me tell you, if you
Mm.
suffer from constipation, it goes pretty rapidly. Won't go
I
the other
mean,
way, but it feeds your gut microbiome. And if we feed and have
yeah.
a really healthy gut microbiome, we are going to ultimately have a
Mm.
really healthy peristaltic movements and
Mm.
no
Mm.
more
Mm.
constipation.
Gotcha. And because we know that avocado is good, we could even add a little bit of avocado to it because we want that creaminess, right? Sometimes it's that little bit of creaminess with
100%.
it.
100%. So you've
Yeah.
got to remember there's more calories in avocado. They're high in fat, so that's
Yeah.
fine. But if you mash up that avocado and have that with your
Mm.
potato, people go,
Mm.
yeah, but that's fat and sugar together. So why won't
Mm.
I put on weight with it? Because the avocado's fat is actually attached to a fiber molecule.
Yeah.
So when we eat it, the body
Mm.
will decide whether it wants it or whether it doesn't want it.
Mm.
So remember I said at the beginning, it
Mm.
preferentially picks up things when we
Yeah.
absorb if you give it the
Yes.
right tools. So when
Yes.
it sees an avocado, yeah, and it's full of, omegas,
Mm.
or short chain fatty acids, whatever you want to call them, picks up
Mm.
those fats, it'll go, we don't need that today. So
Mm.
because it's attached to fiber, let's ship it out the back door. We don't need
Mm.
it.
Mm. Gotcha.
And
Yes.
remember, from a potato point of view, they're very low in calories as long as you don't put olive oil on them. So if you
Mm.
don't put the oil on them, you just have the potato,
Mm.
adding a bit of avocado to it, we're
Mm.
still low in calories.
Mm. Mm. And it is that everything in moderation too. Like, so if you're really craving that little bit of cheese because you want that little bit of dairy, like a tiny bit, it, at the end of the day is if it's what you do every day. Like that's one of the things that I learnt, and especially if you're wanting to make changes, because I can just see it now. People will say, "But Jacqui, I don't want to give up my dairy straight away. I don't want to give up this straight away." And yes, there's alternatives, right? But if you're just having, because I remember measuring it out, my slice of cheese, like I'd cut from the block, but it was a very thin slice. And then because I really liked it, I actually cut that into thirds so that I could make that go a little bit further in the day.
Yeah, that's
But
smart. Yeah.
because if you're given something and you're told, like anything, if we go to the doctor or we go to someone, they go, you can't have this, this, and this anymore, you crave it, you mentally go into a grief cycle. So it's better to go, all right, I know I've got to cut it back. What if I just go slowly as I learn these new alternatives, change the taste buds up a bit because it takes a while, and the habits. The
Yeah.
habits are the biggest thing.
Yeah. So that's the thing. You've got to change the patterns. You've got to change your sequences. You've got to change the habit. As Joe Dispenza would say, you've got to change the habit of being yourself.
Yeah.
So you got to now start thinking differently. And it doesn't take very long when you go, I'm only going to have a small amount, or I'm only going to eat choose a day. You know, Saturday might be my day off and I can do whatever I like. Small changes make massive differences. You don't need to jump down the rabbit hole all at once, because it can be overpowering and overwhelming for people, right? It was overwhelming for me. For Chris, back in 2003, for Chris, it was really easy. The pain of multiple sclerosis was greater than the pain of change.
Yeah.
So he changed.
Yes.
Right? The same with you when you made that decision to have bariatric surgery. The pain of staying where you were was greater than the changes you were going to have to make through your bariatric surgery and after bariatric, right?
And long term, like, it's been over 5 years, and yes, I've kept my weight off, but there's been other issues that have come up, and malnutrition is one of those that I have to be extremely mindful of, because some days, or my stomach, for various reasons, right? And we're just talking about me, so always seek professional help and the right help. But for me, some days, to have a quarter of a piece of toast, like, or something, is all I can tolerate. But sometimes if I was to go and have, say, some dry biscuits like a salada, I would probably eat more of those because it's less dense and more refined. But that's what I hear a lot of people when I did coaching with people post bariatric surgery. It's like, oh, Jacqui, I can't possibly eat that vegetable soup, or like, and I'm talking the soup that you still got to chew a bit, and because it's just too filling, it's too much. But I can eat a whole bag of chips, or I can eat a whole 4 saladas, or I can eat half a Big Mac or something. And I'm like, yes, it's because, and what you've covered is that density and nutritional value is not there. So it breaks down so much quicker. It squashes into the stomach, but it's not doing a lot for the body, which is where a lot of people who have had bariatric surgery become malnourished.
Yeah.
For various, and you can, as you've pointed, go ahead.
So it is fruit and veg. It's where we get our nutrients from. It's the only place, it's really important for getting all our vitamins and our minerals is from fruit and veg. So if you've got someone with bariatric surgery, my suggestion, and one of the things I like to do with people in this situation, is to go, okay, well, we've got to eat them, but you're not going to be able to eat many. And we've got to eat varied amounts. So go to the supermarket, buy one of every veggie, bring it home, put it into your food processor, and then chop it all up. And then put it into an ice cube, freeze them, and have one ice cube a day. And you could take the whole day to eat that ice cube, but inside that ice cube is all of these tiny little veggies, because we only need a very small amount. Sometimes it's only, I think it's about the tip of your thumbnail that we need. It's only a very small amount of different vegetables to be able to get all of the nutrients that we need. So all of the vitamins and all of the minerals and things like that for your body to pick up.
Sorry about that.
Here goes your phone. So that goes for your body to pick up all of the nutrients that it actually needs. Once you do that, and if you did that every single day, you're changing your gut microbiome, you're making it more diverse, you're giving your body lots, like a multivitamin, if you like, but in a natural form of a multivitamin.
Yeah, natural, ready to go, right?
Ready to go.
No preservatives or additives.
That's right. No gluten, no junk in them, no fillers, none of these sorts of things. And that way, even if you could manage three ice cubes a day, one for breakfast, one for lunch, one for dinner, that's a huge amount of nutrients that your body's actually getting. And then you don't suffer from malnutrition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can see people with malnutrition who, you know, they might be 150 kilos,
Mm.
but they're starving. Their
Oh, that was
body, their
me.
so
Yep,
this is
that was me.
this is what you need to do, right? Mm.
Mm. Mm. Kathy, this has been awesome. I always love our conversations. That like we could sit here and talk all day, but we won't. And I do
No.
apologize for that alarm of mine going off. But guys, Kathy and I will do another podcast that we'll bring out next month. Keep an eye out for Connect and Grow magazine and the recipes. We purposely haven't told you what they are because we want you to go check it out. And keep liking, following, sharing. It's been really great, Kathy, for having you, and we'll
The
talk really
recipes, I'll
soon.
just give everybody a little hint. The recipes for
Yeah.
this month are
Mm.
incredible, especially the dessert. So
Oh,
absolutely amazing recipes for this month. So
yep.
get on board and get it.
Yeah, and you can subscribe to our magazine. We'll put all the links. You can connect with Kathy at Health 104. So we'll have those links in there for you too. So you can go and have your personalised appointment with Kathy so she can tailor the program specifically for you. All the information we've given you today is general. We do want you to follow medical advice, professional advice. We're just here to plant the seed and give you some food for thought, so to speak. All
And
right,
I'm
guys.
and I'm not all about this. Not everything is plant based. So don't worry about
No,
coming to see me and going, oh my God, she's going to make me eat veggies. No, we
yeah,
will
no.
personalize at Health 104. We personalize all your health journey for you.
Perfect.